Yeah, very good morning. Today we are going to discuss about the term optimization. Why? Because the last class we are seeing about the whole cost system operation control, the introduction we have seen. And if you know this term optimization, what are the what is objective function, then constraints, then only you can easily frame your problem. Okay, so for that, the introduction to optimization is very important for better understanding this subject. So today we are going to see about what is optimization, what are the constraints. So in the last class itself, I have told what is optimization. Okay, so optimization which have yeah, objective function and as well as a constraints. So that objective function might be of sometimes it might be of maximizing, sometimes it might be of minimizing. Okay, so in the case of you are going for a holiday trip, then what you might be thinking is what you might be thinking like you will be maximizing your enjoyment, maximize your enjoyment. Okay, similarly, so for power generation companies, so what might be their objective is that, so their objective is to minimize the cost, that is happened in the generation. Okay, with the minimum cost, they have to go for the generation, very minimum cost. So minimum cost, they have to go with the generation with certain constraints. They have to spend okay, this much 1,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees or 1 crore for generating the 1,000 megawatt. Like that, they might be having some constraints. Okay, so if you take like transmission losses has to be minimized. In that case, you can't able to tell like transmission losses should be maximized. Okay, what happens if the transmission loss will be maximized? So in that case, our objective will be minimized. The transmission loss might be minimized. And if you take like some industries, their losses, okay, their losses, profit has to be maximized, and their okay, losses have to be minimized. Then only the profit will be more maximized. Okay, instead of if the loss is maximized means, then profit automatically comes down. Then the company will be in the loss. So loss of that particular company should be minimized. Okay, as I said, the student objective, what student will think like. Student will always think like they want to get the maximum marks. So in that case, their objective is to get the maximum marks. What is their constraints? They have to study from only the day before examinations. They have to study only from 1 hour to a maximum of 8 hours or 10 hours. They have to study. So then only they might be getting some average marks or good marks depending on how they are prepared. So similarly like that, so objective, so every optimization has some objective function. Every optimization problem. Suppose yesterday I told one example, I need to design a smartphone. What is the major objective? I need to maximize my profit. I need to maximize my sales, increase the sales of the particular product. Whatever the product might be, I am manufacturing. I need to increase the profit. And what is my constraints? I have to reach the market within a very short time. Okay, I have to reach the market if I'm launching a product on this date, I have to reach the product by even one week. 1 week, my product has to be come to the top. My product has to be sale at the most, and also it has to be come to the top. And what is my another constraints? I have to manufacture that same product within the least cost. Say for example, from 1,000 rupees to 15,000 or 10,000, I need to manufacture that particular product within this cost only. If I'm going more than that, okay, then that is the loss one. Okay, so that is these are the constraints, and also my maximum my constraints for the weight. Many constraints are there for if you are making a smartphone, the weight constraints. So the competitor company are going with say 125 grams. So I need to make the same product with more features, the same product with 100 grams. So 25 grams is also one of the constraints, and I need to use the processor of like a very fast processor, like that is also one of the constraints. So the cost of that processor also one of the constraints. Then all the sensors, say for example some other competitive company are using only 4 sensors. I'm going to use 6 sensors means, so I need to incorporate all the sensors in that product only. So that also one of my constraints. I need to okay, install. I need to fix all the sensors in that component only. So that constraints is added. So this is a multi-constraint problem. Many constraints are there. Objective also many objectives are there. Okay, like that. So so your understanding, no, for an any optimization problem, if you take like it has some objective function as well as the constraints. Constraints is like limitation. You can also tell like constraint as limitation also. The constraint also, time constraint also will be added. So okay, so you need to manufacture the product within this 100 days. Say for example 0 to 100 days, because by the end of 100 days, if you are coming with a product, then you will be succeed in the market. The same product, say for example you are making for an hour, an year, you are making for 365 days. Okay, by the end of 365 days you are planning to launch that product. By the time whatever the features you are added, with the more features, some your competitive company will be releasing the same some other new product. Okay, so you will be loser in the market if you go for the same product after 365 days. Then you will be a loser in the market. Okay, so what you have to do is before your constraint is you have to make the product from 0 days or 1 day to 100 days. 100 by the end of 100 days you have to go for the manufacturing. So by the time designing, everything should be up. So that also one of the constraints, time constraints. Okay, as I said, like for preparing for examination, that is also the constraints, time constraints. So from 1 hour to 8 hours you need to prepare. That is also time constraints. So the constraints may be vary. Sometimes there are 2 types of constraints in this optimization problem. One is equality constraints, and another one is inequality constraints. Okay, one is, so the first one is the objective function. Every optimization problem has some objective function as well as the constraints. So the constraints are of 2 types. Okay, so one is equality constraints and inequality constraints. So what is meant by equality constraints? What is meant by equality constraints? The functional value has to be matched with the resource value. Say for example, I am telling a simple example so that you can understand clearly what is equality constraint. Daily you are coming to college through some transport or some any means. So what your parents is doing is, your parents giving some pocket money. Say for example, daily your parents they are giving 100 rupees as a pocket money. 100 rupees as a pocket money daily they are giving. So what they are telling, they are just giving 100 rupees. So what you will do? So you have to utilize that 100 rupees for a whole day, because the travel is there. So you have to reach the college by bus, and another from there some auto you need to take. So again return you have to go back to your home. So your transportation, everything, say for example within 100 rupees your transportation to and fro, it is cost around 70 rupees. like that. So extra 30 rupees, what you are doing is you are buying some snacks, ice cream, something like that you are buying. So you're spending the whole money. You're spending the whole money, that is 100 rupees given by your parents. That 100 rupees, what you are doing is you're utilizing the whole 100 rupees. So that is called the equality concept. So whatever the functional value that equals the resource value, that is called the equality concept. So inequality constraint example is, so your parents is giving 100 rupees of 100 rupees to you daily. So your parents is giving some condition. Your parents is giving some condition like, so what they are telling us, you have to spend that money 100 rupees from 50 rupees to 80 rupees, something like the constraints they are giving. Okay, your parents are is telling like, so you have to spend this money daily. I'm giving 100 rupees, but he is telling one condition. You have to spend that amount from 50, minimum 50 rupees you can spend, to the maximum you can spend around 80 rupees. So what we people will do is, we'll spend if the condition is given, so we'll spend the most. Okay, so even many students, their mentality to spend the at the most, because they are giving, your parents is giving the constraints like you have to spend from 50 rupees to maximum 80 rupees. So this is the constraints they will be giving. So that is called inequality constraint. That is the functional value not equals the resource value. That is called equality constraints. So any problem, like any problem, say for example, the equality constraints means, say for example, you are going to make that product. You are going to make the product with all the components installed and your profit, then transportation costs, all the things. So it is comprising of 15,000. So 15,000 rupees means, so whatever you attain that. So company itself given some constraints like, so you have to make the product 15,000 rupees. Like, with comprising all the components, so that 15,000 rupees you are utilizing for making the product. So inequality constraints is what is the thing is that, so your company, so you're say for example you're R&D engineer. Okay, research and development department you are working. So in the company is giving a constraint like, okay, so you have to manufacture. You have to go for manufacturing that product within this some certain limit, or you have to test that product. Okay, so you have to with comprising all some new features. You have to test that product within this 50 days. Within 50 days, you have to complete that project. Okay, like that they are giving. Okay, so that 50 days start from even day one. Okay, so from you can complete that project. They are giving the constraint like you have to you can complete that project from 1 week to 50 days. So like 7 days to 50 days. Okay, so the minimum constraint is 7 days to the maximum of 50 days. Okay, so that is called inequality constraint. So depends on yourself. You can also complete the work in 7 days, or otherwise you can take up to 50th day. But you should not exceed. Okay, so you should not exceed that 50th day, because the time limit is given. Even you can complete it 7th day or 10th day or 20th day, 30th, like even 50th day. It should not be 51st day, because the constraint is given to you clearly. Okay, so that is called inequality constraint, and also time constraint. So time constraints we discussed. So sometimes the cost constraints is also given. Cost constraints, what from you have to spend that amount. So say for example, generation you are going for. So like for generating 1,000 megawatt, minimum some 10 lakh rupees it is you are going to spend. So 10 lakh rupees, what they are giving the constraints is, you can also spend from like 7 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees. So it is depends on you. Okay, so how optimally you are making that, utilizing the generating units, how optimally you are choosing the generating units. it so that your cost gets minimized. Okay, so can we define this optimization problem? So optimization is defined as minimizing or maximizing of an objective function. Okay, minimizing or maximizing of an objective function subject to constraints. So subject to constraints is very, very important. So minimizing or maximizing the objective function. Okay, so like a holiday case, I have to maximize my enjoyment. And also holiday case, two types are there. With the minimum cost, I have to minimize the cost utilized, and also I want to maximize my enjoyment. Okay, so the subject to constraints. Constraints. What is the constraints? As I said, now cost constraints. I have to spend from 2,000 rupees to the maximum of 5,000 rupees. It should not cross 5,000 rupees. It is cross also, that is the loss for you, because the thing is that your parents given only 5,000 rupees for your industrial visit. Okay, so you can spend from 2,000 rupees to the maximum of 5,000 rupees. So what we guys will do? So generally we will spend only some instead of 5,000 rupees, we'll spend only 3,000 or something like that. Then 2,000 rupees we'll take as a pocket money. Like so, that is the constraints they're given. Your parents or what they're telling us. What they're telling us, they're giving 5,000 rupees in your hand, and they're telling some constraints. So you have to spend from minimum 3,000 rupees to the maximum of 5,000 rupees. So that is also one of the constraints. So whereas in the case of generation, in the case of power generation, say for example, power generation company, they are while generating itself, they are given with some constraints. So you have to spend from 5 lakh, 7 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees. So what in the company, what will go for? Will always go for the minimized cost. Then only that will be the profit for generation company. Okay, so if the profit is there only, the company will run in the run in the smooth manner. So if say for example, a company is giving the constraint like 7 lakhs rupees to 10 lakh rupees, you are spending more than 10.5 lakhs. Then ultimately, 0.5 lakhs is the loss for the company. Okay, as a good engineer, so you should follow the constraint also, but objective should not be changed. Objective also you should satisfy. Within the constraints also you have to manufacture. As I said yesterday, some iron works we said now. So objective is to design what is say for example, if I'm going to manufacture a cheapest iron box. What is my main objective? So my objective is to make a very minimum cost iron box in the market, all over the market, all over the globe, okay, throughout the world. So I am going to manufacture a product, but that product might be of very, very less cost. Okay, so that is my objective. What is my constraints? I have to manufacture that product. I have to manufacture the product within 30 days of time, because at the end of 31st day, if I'm waiting, some other company will come to the market, then I will not able to succeed in the market. Okay, so that is the constraint, and also cost constraint also. Cost constraint. So for cost constraint, I'm comparing all the products. So I'm coming with some say for example, I'm the chief executive of the company. So I'm giving some constraints for the product. So only you have to manufacture the product from 400 rupees to 500 rupees. Okay, so minimum 400 rupees minimum also you can manufacture the product, but I'm giving clearly constraint like 400 rupees to 500 rupees to a maximum of 500 rupees. Yeah, the product cost might be of 500 rupees also, or 400 rupees also, 450, 490, 480, but it should not cross 500 rupees. Okay, so that is the constraints. So objective function, some minimum or maximum. Okay, so constraints sometimes what my company people is doing is, So I'm giving the you have to manufacture the product within 500 rupees at the maximum of 500 rupees. So that max 500 rupees itself, my company people is manufacturing. So that is called the equality constraints. What is the inequality constraints means? I am giving specifically some limits, so that they will be manufacturing from 400 rupees to 500. That is what inequality constraints. So the what is again I'm repeating. So what is optimization? Optimization is nothing but minimization, minimization minimizing or maximizing of an okay objective function, objective function subject to constraints. Okay. So what is the definition? So that the definition goes like this. It is nothing but minimizing or maximizing of an objective function subject to constraints. So this is the exact definition for optimization. So objective function, you know. So the objective function, it comprises of your mathematical models. Say for example, for make simple objective function. Say for example, f of x. Simple objective function I am telling you. F of x equal to x square. Okay, f of x is equal to x square, like that. F of x equal to x square or x plus 2. Something like that. This is a simple objective function. Whereas if you go for making a product, your objective function might be differing like because I said now many things are there. Like you have to with the minimum weight, then a minimum cost, then with all the sensors combined, then your cost, everything. So if you go for that full objective function, that objective function will become throughout the whole page or 2 pages, 3 pages objective function also there, because all the things you need to satisfy within that objective function. So constraints, equality constraints. Say for example, so whatever say your parents, they are telling like they are giving like 100 rupees. So 100 rupees, what I am doing is 100 rupees I am utilizing whole 100 rupees. Okay, they are giving the pocket money of rupees 100. Okay, the same I'm utilizing like the same. Say for example, 80 rupees I'm taking as for I'm utilizing for my travel, and another 20 rupees. Another 20 rupees what I'm doing is I'm spending for my some snacks, something like that I'm buying. So that is called equality concept. That is the functional value that equals the resource value. So inequality function means functional value that are not equals to resource value. Say for example, my father is giving the constraints. So you have to give the you have to spend this money from, say for example, 50 less than or equal to. So that is the spend it. You have to spend 50 less than or equal to 80. So you have to spend around rupees. Okay, you have to spend around rupees 50 rupees to 80 rupees. You have to spend your pocket money from 50 rupees to 80 rupees. This is less than or equal. Okay, whether it might be of 50 or it might be not more than 80. Okay, it should be within 50 to 80 rupees. It might be of 50 also, 51 also, 60 also, 70 also, 78 also, 79 also, then 80 also. It should not exceed the amount 81. because the parents are giving the constraints, some constraints, that is called inequality constraint. We should spend around within this cost. Okay, so now you can clearly understand what is meant by optimization, what is the objective function, then what are the constraints. So what is your objective in the case, in this spending case, what is your objective function? Objective function is to reach the college, reach the college, okay, and come back to home. Okay, so that is the objective function. So not x function, objective function. So what is my major objective function? My objective function is to reach the college and come back to the home safely. Okay, safely but through. Okay, so this is the objective function. Subject to constraints. Subject to constraints. Subject to constraints. What are the constraints? Two constraints. My father. One constraint is one day he is telling like, so I'm giving her only 100 rupees. He is not telling like you have to spend around 50 rupees to 80 rupees. Just like that, he is giving 100 rupees, and he is telling like you can spend like. So what I am doing is I am spending the whole 100 rupees. For inequality constraints, in another fine day, what he is telling like, they're telling like you have to spend this amount from this much rupees to this much rupees. Okay, so what I am doing is I am also spending the rupees from even 50 rupees or at the maximum of 80 rupees. So the fine case, all many students, what they will do is they will be spending only 50 rupees. Another 30 rupees they will be taking separately as their pocket. Okay, but what we guys will do is we'll go to our parents and we'll tell like 80 rupees we have to spend. So but this is the actual, this is the equality constraint as well as the inequality constraints. Thank you.